We have a new CEO for Disney, the Disney company, and of course that means a new CEO for Disneyland. Or is it really kind of the old CEO for Disneyland? Let's talk about this. So this is Josh D'Amaro, this guy right here on the right side. He's the formerly, I guess he's still currently, the Disney Experiences Chairman. Now that means that's a fancy title. It's a nice title. I like the title. For being in charge of the parks, of the park experiences across the Disney company, right? So we're talking about Disneyland, Disney World, all these parks, right? The new one in Abu Dhabi. Although admittedly, I don't know how much control some of these guys have with when they have sort of company share. But he's replacing Bob Iger. Bob Iger is retiring from his CEO position. Bob Iger was CEO before. Then Chapek came in. Then Bob Iger came back. And he was supposed to, at the end of his contract, was supposed to run to the end of this year, the end of 2026. But they're changing things over really early, right? Josh D'Amaro is taking over in March, apparently as of March 18th. So we have a month and a half, less than 2 months of Bob Iger as CEO, and then Josh D'Amaro comes in, which is really just a quick change. You almost have to wonder why they're shifting so quickly. And I have a couple of theories on this. I think that part of it is that Bob Iger is tired and he doesn't want to keep on doing being CEO. He did everything he thought he needed to do in order to improve things for the Disney company because he felt that Chapek wasn't doing a good job. I feel like they had a falling out. And I think he also trusts Josh D'Amaro to do a good job. And not just him, not just Josh D'Amaro, but also they also included Dana Walden, who is the co-chairman of Disney Entertainment, will become the president and chief creative officer of the Walt Disney Company. And I think that between the two of them, I think this is Walden right here, I believe. I could be wrong. But let's see here. Yeah. This is Dana Walden. I think between the two of them, they're trusting that this company that they will be able to do an excellent job in running the Disney company. And I think Bob Iger would not retire early unless he was absolutely certain that he was putting the company into good hands. So so that's fun. Good to see you. Welcome in, guys, to the stream. Mandalorian, Vague, Spidey. So let's talk about this. First off, I think that there are 5 things that Josh D'Amaro needs to do in order to ensure that Disneyland lasts 100 years. It's already lasted 70 years. 71, I guess, at this point. We're celebrating the 70th anniversary. But what about the next 70? What about the next 100 years of Disney company? And of course, if the Disneyland parks survive, then the company survives. The parks may bring in a lot of money consistently into Disney, right? The movies are amazing, but they're not consistently making money, right? Some movies do great and some movies are flops. And for every generally Disney would love them to all be amazing, right? They all want them to be Coco and Frozen and Encanto, but they can't guarantee that, right? They can't guarantee that every single thing that they release is going to make money. So it's sort of a risk. It's a risk going to take. But they do know that people come to Disneyland. They come to Disney World. It's a consistent source of income. There are exceptions, of course. The pandemic was a big exception that made it so that it was very difficult for the parks to bring in money. But other than these once in a century kind of events, it's a stable source of income for the company. So if we are going to ensure the survival of the Disney company for another 100 years, we need to ensure the survival of Disneyland, right? This is Disneyland right here, from a map. And we need to make sure that these parks last forever. I'm biased on that, by the way. I'm biased on that as somebody who absolutely loves Disneyland. So let's talk about things. Okay, first off, what does Disney need to do? What does Disney need to do? And I think it is very clear that, and this is what they're already doing. Point number one, I don't know why I'm holding up two fingers. Point number one is that Disney needs to continue to expand the parks. I know you're saying, Kevin, that's crazy talk. Well, Disney has already been proposing Disneyland Forward, and Disneyland Forward is their way of saying, hey, we're going to do park expansions. And we already know a bit of what's going on here. First off, they're making a big parking structure right here in this area, right? It's going to be about like 10 stories tall, I believe. It's going to hold a lot of cars, probably as much as the cars in the Mickey and Friends and Pixar Palace parking structure, maybe even more cars. Okay. And this is going to do a couple things. One, it's going to be a nice place where everyone can park and be able to, have plenty of space for them. But two, it clears up, it frees up parking space for other areas, right? Like, do we really need the parking structure, the Toy Story parking structure, right? Do we need the downtown Disney parking structure or this parking structure right here? I don't know. Maybe. Let's come back to that. Okay? We also know they're adding rides. We're getting 2 rides in Avatar Land, the Avengers Campus. We're getting the Monsters Inc. is going away, but we're getting the new Avatar rides, which I think is going to be based on Way of the Water. That's going to take place right about here. We're getting the new Coco ride, and then and that's as far as we know. That's as far as we know for changes here. But that's a lot of new rides that we're going to see at Disneyland, specifically Disney California Adventure, within the next 5 years. Okay? I'm simply saying you got to go and expand beyond that. Right? We have a lot of potential opportunities for Disneyland to grow. And the reason why this is important is that, one, Disneyland does make a lot of money. Disneyland and Disney California bring in a lot of money because a lot of people are coming into the parks. In fact, demand for coming for the parks is pretty still high up there. The parks are crowded. People are coming in pretty much all the time. People are willing to pay money, right? And during the busy seasons like summer or Christmas or the holidays, you have tons of people just packing the crowds. So if Disney were to grow and increase their capacity by opening new rides and such, they would be able to bring in more people and therefore make a lot more money. Now you're saying, oh, what about the fact that they're releasing a lot of deals right now, right? There's a lot of deals out there for Disneyland tickets. Well, I would say that it's very possible that we're sort of in a kind of a recession for those who would come to Disneyland parks. And so they need to make deals to bring people in. We're also in the off season right now. This is early February, late January, and at this point in time, the parks tend to be empty. This is if you want to plan a trip to Disneyland, this is a great time to come right now because the parks are very, very easy to go and do a ton of rides because people aren't coming as much. A lot of people have already come to Disneyland for the holiday season, right? So that's, November, December, early January even. And so they just came and they don't need to come again, or they're waiting for when they have more breaks because, kids breaks, right? Ski week, spring break, summer, right? That's when kids are out of school. Some people even don't have work, during some of those periods. And so it's a lot easier to plan vacations and trips around those vacation times, those break times, than it is to plan a trip like, when people are in the middle of school or work. That sort of thing. So this is a good time to come, and that's why I think partially why there's a lot of these deals, okay? So expansion would allow Disney to make more money. Let me just go ahead and preface this. All the suggestions, all the things that I'm going to tell you guys right now, these 5 elements, are all things that I think would benefit the Disney company as a whole and would continue to make the money. In fact, I would say continue to make more money. I'm not going to suggest things that I don't think is realistic that Disney would even consider because it would make them less money. I don't mean to be cynical. I don't mean to be too cynical, but Disney is a company, and they're in it for profits. They're in it for the money, right? They're also in it for the magic too. I'm not gonna, people are more than just, Scrooge McDucks and greed, right? They want to make money, but they want to make magic. They want to be creative, right? Well, as a person, individually, you and me, right? Of course, money is cool, But that's not the only thing that's driving our lives, right? We want, relationships, we want families, we want to be proud of things that we create and accomplish. So I think that people working for the Disney company would also kind of similarly have a multitude of motives, but money is one of them, one of the bigger ones. So anything that I'm going to suggest right now isn't something that is going to go against that money making ideal, right? I'm not going to say like, oh, Disney should lower ticket prices. They should get rid of the of extras like parking, paying for parking, that sort of thing here. No, I'm not going to suggest that because Disney would never do that. Disney would never do it. Disney is not going to lower ticket prices, right? Disney is not going to lower Magic Key prices. Yeah, they're already making money and people still have the demand here. So I'm not going to suggest things like that are unrealistic. I'm going to suggest ideas that's going to make Disney richer. And therefore, it's something that maybe the new CEO, maybe something that Josh tomorrow, can take a look at, right? And say, hey, let's do it. Okay. So what, and how we'll get to a better experiences. So growing the parks, I think, one, could allow people to Disney make more money because if you have more rides, you have more opportunities to make money. And then this includes, of course, potentially opening a third gate. A third gate meaning a third park, right? We have the original. This is the first park that Disney ever had, right? This is the Disneyland park. This is the original, right? Fantasyland, Adventureland, Frontierland, that sort of thing, Tomorrowland. This is California Adventure, which was opened later, right? That's two parks there. There's two gates. And this is the entrance to Disneyland Park, and this is the entrance to California Adventure. So very, very straightforward. Okay? But with this new parking, could they maybe open up a third park? Maybe over here with their Toy Story parking lot. I mean, look at the size of this, right? That's about the size of California Adventure right there. Right, you could have an entrance right around here, or really wherever, and then have trams kind of drop people off. Or what about in this area, right? You move downtown Disney over here, and then you expand you create a new park kind of in this section right over here, right? Using this space here, maybe even some of this parking lot space over here. And then you would call it a third park. You'd have a third gate. I've heard names suggested as Westcott's. I like this idea right here to have a park right in this section here, because then you could put the entrance right here. And so you have the Disneyland entrance, the California Adventure entrance, and then whatever entrance this would be for Westcott. You'd have to move around some of the tram routes and make it maybe be a little bit weird about it. But if they're having a big parking structure right over here, a lot of people are going to be coming into the parks from this side anyway. So it's going to make it easy, even better. And of course, a third gate, a third park, is more capacity. Is more people able to come to Disneyland? Is more people willing to spend the money? And like I said, that's what Disney is interested in. It makes sense to think about this in long term. The world population is growing. The population of the United States is growing. And so because of that, there's going to be more and more people that are going to be interested in going to Disneyland parks. Now, we already have Disney World on the East Coast, but we now have Disneyland on the West Coast. And I think that's going to still be very much important and in demand. And I think it's a good money-making opportunity. Okay. Expansion, however, it does not just mean, hey, more parks, right? We're talking about new rides, and new rides is also a form of capacity. Now, I like the fact that they're making more relevant rides here. I'm very sad they're removing Monsters Inc., right? But they're bringing in Avatar, right? Avatar: Way of the Water. Okay? Right? That did very well. That did very well for Disney in terms of money. I believe that it's, let's see here. It has a budget of $460 million on the top end. And box office, $2.3 billion. That's a lot of money. Hey, Chrissy, good to see you. Welcome in. So thank you for the service, Timothy. So that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, right? So of course they're going to have the world of Pandora in here, right? Because it's relevant. Because people really like Avatar and they're going to want to ride rides based on Avatar, right? Coco is going to be a new ride here. Avengers, right? These are more recent IPs. intellectual properties that are more relevant to what's going on with Disney. People aren't going, if they open another Mr. Toad ride, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, people are gonna be like, what's Mr. Toad, right? How many people have actually have watched Mr. Toad's in the movie featuring Mr. Toad? I don't think a lot of people have. Some of us have. Some of us are old and have nostalgia, but we're talking about kids here. Kids that are 5, 10, 15 years old, right? And they're going to be like, oh yeah, I watched the Avengers movie. Oh yeah, I watched Avatar movie. They're going to be like, I watched a cartoon that isn't even, one of the prominent ones. Oh yeah, people are certainly going to watch Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, and those are still going to be culturally relevant. But, are they as relevant as, say, Frozen or Moana? I would say not as much. These are the new shows. This is the new renaissance of Disneyland. So I agree, Angels. I don't think that they should get rid of old rides, fan favorite rides, right? I think that what Disneyland needs to do is expand and add rides that are relevant to today's audiences, like Moana, like Frozen, okay? And this ties into one more point, and then this is the main point, and that's because of nostalgia, right? I think that Disneyland needs to invest in 100 years in the future. And here's what I mean by that. You and I, we're a little bit older. We have nostalgia for the past, right? I grew up watching Beauty and the Beast. I grew up watching all these old movies right there, and I love Disney, right? I also happen to grow up in the Los Angeles area, so I went to Disneyland as a kid. I have a lot of nostalgia for Disney intellectual properties and a lot of nostalgia for Disneyland as a park, okay? And that's really important. That's really important because it means that I'm willing to spend money at Disneyland just to relive that nostalgia. Just to relive those emotions, right? When I ride the carousel at Disneyland, I remember the time I rode the carousel with my mom next to me, holding me into on the horse, and that's important to me because I love that feeling. When I eat a churro or popcorn, I remember the experiences I had as a child. When I'm on a ride like Pinocchio, I remember watching Pinocchio as a kid. Nostalgia is a big seller of things, right? Because we are willing to spend money for nostalgic purposes, right? And the only way to create nostalgia is to invest in it early. Invest in it invest in the childhood of people, right? So the children of today, the children going to Disneyland in 2026 are going to be the adults bringing their families in 2056, 30 years from now, right? They're going to say like, hey, I love Disneyland. I enjoyed the parks. I really liked riding Coco and seeing Avatar Land. I had so much fun as a kid that I am going to bring my family as an adult because I had fun and I want my kids to experience that same fun that I had as a kid. Does that make sense? It's self-perpetuating. It's self-perpetuating. It's a chain reaction. The avalanche is coming down the mountain and you can't stop it. You can't stop it because of nostalgia. But it doesn't work if Disney doesn't invest in nostalgia now and continues to invest in nostalgia, right? This is the hard thing that companies have. We have so many things focused on quarterly earnings and quarterly reports, which is like every 3 months, right? And so many companies are focusing on trying to get the bottom line and make money for the next 3 months, but not a lot of them, I feel, or at least not enough of them, invest in the long term, right? And say like, hey, instead of worrying about 3 months from now, what about 3 years from now? What about 30 years from now? And I really think that Disney as a company has to take the long view because not only is it a long-lived company, but because nostalgia is absolutely critical for everything that they do in the parks, everything that they do here, right? Because like I said, the kids of today are going to be the families of tomorrow, the parents of tomorrow, and they're going to bring their kids, right? And if they keep perpetuating that cycle, their kids are eventually become parents, and they're going to bring their kids to Disneyland. And not just once, just not just one time, right? But maybe multiple times, right? Come to Disneyland multiple times, buy the merchandise, eat the food, maybe go when they're teenagers or when they're grandparents and bring their grandkids, right? It's an investment in the future, right? You're getting them hooked now. So yes. So yeah, Donnie, we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so that's what I'm saying is focus on nostalgia. And part of that, I think, is going to be doing nostalgic things, okay, for the parks. And when I say that, I mean, bring back the old rides. Bring back the People Mover, right? Tomorrowland is a great place, but there's a couple things that can be done here. Bring back the People Mover. Have the People Mover continue to move throughout this area. Put back the Astral Orbiter on top of whatever this thing is. I don't even know what you call it, but it used to be higher up, right? And therefore more exciting because if the Astral Orbiter ride is higher up, it's a lot more thrilling. The height gives you a little bit more excitement. Tap into that nostalgia because the rides of the past, like the People Mover, like Astral Orbiter, like the fly, like the I forget the name right now. I have a terrible memory. Like the cups that would fly between Fantasyland and Tomorrowland, all of those are nostalgic rides that people like me remember, right? As kids, we'd ride on, and we still want to ride again. We'd be willing to put money down again. If they bring back Skyway buckets, thank you, Stowdoni. Skyway buckets. If they opened up the People Mover, if Josh D'Amaro announced, hey, in 2 years, we're going to bring back the People Mover to Disneyland, do you know how many tickets that would sell? Do you know how many people would line up for day 1, day 2, month 1, month 2, month 3, just to ride the People Mover? I'll be honest, I don't think it's even the most exciting ride. It's a great ride, but we're not talking Space Mountain here. We're not talking Thunder Mountain. We're not talking Incredicoaster. It's a very straightforward, calm ride, but everyone has nostalgia for it. Everyone loves it. Everyone's saying, like, bring it back. You bring back the Sky Buckets, people will come, and they'll bring their kids, and they'll bring their grandkids, and they'll spend money. They'll buy the bubble wands. They'll buy the ears. They'll pay for the parking. And that's what I'm saying, guys. This is what Disney can do, should do, and would make them more money by investing in and by investing in these older rides, investing in nostalgia. Disney will make money in the long run. And let's be honest here, certainly they are going to have to do a lot of construction costs for the People Mover, right? They need to update it for modern safety standards, but it's the People Mover, right? It's not the most complicated ride. It doesn't move very quickly, right? They already have the People Mover running at Disney World, so they already have engineers that are kind of, focusing on ensuring that ride works well. They're going to be able to do something similar here at Disneyland. They absolutely can, right? And it's an older ride, so it's not using any advanced technology that's unproven or maybe expensive. No. It's just infrastructure. It's just mechanics, That kind of stuff is easy to implement and would definitely be able to bring more money back. The Skyway buckets, from what I recall reading, didn't require a lot of cast members to run. I think it was like 6 cast members to run the entire ride. Like, that's not a big footprint in terms of payroll, right? I don't know how many cast members are needed to run Rise of Resistance, right? It's a great ride and it's huge, but it requires tons of cast members. Cast members to re at the front gate to monitor the line. Cast members to sort people into the loading shuttle. Cast members to load the shuttle. Cast members to unload the shuttle. Cast members to assign people to the interrogation room. Cast members to load people onto the vehicles. Cast members to unload the people off the vehicles, and of course, cast members in the cameras and control rooms monitoring all of it. On top of that, so it's a lot of people. But 6 cast members in the Sky Buckets for a ride that doesn't have a big footprint. I mean, I literally don't think that they've developed the land that they used to be on here, right? Right over here by Casey Jr. and right over here by Autopia. I think they still have the space. They still have the area. They could do it. Is it going to be costly to build a ride again? Yes. But it's not going to be costly to keep going. So, 6 people, 6 cast members is not a lot to pay. Sure, you're going to be paying 6 cast members in, shifts and everything, but it's nostalgia. People would absolutely love to ride it. People would want to come to the parks. And that's why I'm saying nostalgia is absolutely critical. That's why I'm saying when Disney expands now and they bring in rides now, the rides, people, if they bring in a Coco ride, a Frozen ride, Way of the Water ride, a Tangled ride, there's a lot of kids out there that have nostalgia for that. And in 30 years, they're going to bring their kids for that nostalgia. Okay, so nostalgia is a big seller. I know we're on point 1 still, but this is the biggest point. This is the biggest point. Nostalgia is going to sell tickets. Nostalgia sell tickets. Why do you think Disney does so many live action movies like live action Moana, live action Beauty and the Beast? It's because these are ways for them to tap into the nostalgia for these old shows. Am I going to go see live action Moana? Absolutely. I love the original Moana, and to see live action Moana, that's going to be amazing. It's a way of not only introducing kids to these franchises, now, because they weren't kids when Moana first came out. They weren't even born yet. But it's also a way for us adults and teenagers to go ahead and say, hey, you know what? I really liked Moana. I really like Beauty and the Beast. I'm going to go see it in live action theaters, right? That's nostalgia. It's nostalgia again. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. New park, new rides, old rides. Bring back old rides. Okay, let's talk about how to make the parks currently as they are better. And I'm saying more entertainment, okay? Disney is really good at being entertaining, right? We have a fireworks show. We have Fantasmic over here in Rivers of America, sometimes twice, usually twice in a day during the weekends. We have World of Color Happiness currently. I was about to say World of Color 1. I was listening to some of the World of Color 1 music earlier. And of course, we have parades, right? We have a lot of parades, actually. We have Paint the Night Parade, the night parade. We have a cavalcade during Disneyland during the afternoon. We have another cavalcade currently going on in California Adventure for the Lunar New Year, right? The Mulan's cavalcade. So we have some entertainment, but we don't have a lot of entertainment that we as much entertainment as we could have. For example, the Hyperion Theater doesn't run today. This used to be where the Aladdin show used to be. This used to be where they had the Frozen show. This used to be where they did Captain America, right? They could open up, they could do entertainment in there, right? They could have entertainment there. They also used to have Captain EO in Tomorrowland. I don't know if they still have the space to do it, or, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, that they could put entertainment in here. And then there's other shows that they could do throughout in different theaters and different places throughout the parks, right? Expand your entertainment offerings. Is that going to cost money? Does it cost money to have entertainment, to put on an entire Frozen musical, or at least a short version of Frozen musical in the Hyperion Theater? And the answer is yes. Of course it's going to cost money. However, like I said, it's a good investment because it's going to make the park experiences better for everyone. And here's part of the reason why. One, when there are shows going on, everything else, all the rides have lower wait times, right? When people are waiting for the parade or watching Fantasmic or watching World of Color, the rides in the park and of course in that general area shorten considerably because people are watching shows instead of waiting in line, right? So it's gonna make the experience better for everyone. It's gonna make the experience better for those watching the show because they enjoy the show. It's going to make experience better for those that aren't watching the show and are waiting in line because the line is shorter, right? So it improves the overall entertainment, the overall joy experience. Disney likes the word experience of the park there. Not only that, but let's also be honest to say, like, it improves in other ways. If it's 12 o'clock on a summer day, it's hot, it's maybe 97 degrees outside, you've been walking around, your kids are getting tired, maybe a little bit sleepy. What's the best? What better than to go to Hyperion Theater? Go to the Hyperion Theater, air conditioned, shaded, and watch a show for an hour. Like, oh my gosh, It's amazing. I mean, some of you guys might even fall asleep for an hour. I've fallen asleep at the Hyperion Theater watching a show because it's been so hot and it was so nice to get in a cool place. Well, guess what? That is an improvement. That is an improvement to guest experiences. That is going to make people say, hey, I really enjoyed watching the show, or I really enjoyed sleeping through the show because it made me feel better in a situation where I was uncomfortable. Right? I needed a break. I needed a rest. I needed to not be standing on my feet all the time. I needed to not walk around. I needed a moment for my kids to just kind of settle down and be able to watch something. You know, shows like this are breaks for people. Are good breaks for people, especially if they're indoors like the Hyperion Theater, or at the very least shaded. At very least shaded, because shade makes a big difference. It's California. It's sunny Southern California. Let's be honest here. Shade is pretty useful a lot of times. Oh, sure, during the winter time, it's not as important except when it's raining. That's another good reason, right? Of course, people are going to want to go into indoor sections when it's raining because they don't want to get rained on. But during the summertime, in spring, even in fall, it can get so hot that people are going to want to be indoors, right? So entertainment improves guest experiences, not just by entertaining people, but also by giving people a break. By giving people a chance to relax, by people say, hey, you don't have to sit on your feet all day, right? And why is guest experiences important? Because a better guest experience means people are, one, more willing to pay more money, two, more willing to come back, right? You know, just saying, and three, if you leave happy, if you leave having a fun time, if you leave having a magical time at Disneyland, you're going to tell people about it. You're going to say, oh my gosh, I had just the most amazing time at Disneyland. We rode all these rides. We saw the Frozen show at the Hyperion Theater. It was a great break. You know, they're going to talk to their friends. They're going to talk to their coworkers. They're going to talk to the people around them. And they're going to say like, oh, you know what? That's a great idea. If Disneyland was a fun time for you, maybe I should look into taking a Disneyland trip. Maybe I should look into spending money at the park for a visit with my family and enjoying the things that I enjoy. Maybe because I've heard it, you know, nostalgic. Word of mouth advertising is the most powerful form of advertising, I believe. I could be wrong. I don't know. But if somebody that you know tells you something, you're more likely to believe it than, say, an ad on a television, you know? Yeah. So I'm just saying, the better experiences out there, the more likely people are going to come to Disneyland, the more people are going to spend money. And of course, if you have another park, if you have more capacity, you're going to have the capacity for them to spend money. Speaking of experiences, let's talk about the big issue. The big elephant in the room, cast members. Pay the cast members better. There are so many stories out there of how cast members are not paid well enough. They're living in their cars. They're doing it not necessarily for the money, which they're not making much of, but for, you know, the experiences or for the joy or for the fact that they love Disney, right? You know, cast members are the core of what makes Disneyland magic. And we're not just talking about the entertainers, although that's a big part of it, certainly. Right? You know, the people that are face characters or assisting face characters or are in shows like Fantasmic. Yeah, those are important. Absolutely. And of course, if you pay cast members better, you're going to get better talent. You're going to retain talent, right? You're going to, the people, say you're an amazing dancer in the parade, right? But you know, you got to feed yourself. You got to support your family. Maybe you take a corporate job, you know, and move away from something that you love, but it pays better to, I don't know, file taxes for a corporation, you know. Sure, like that's important, right? But maybe it's not your passion. Maybe it's not your joy. And of course, a corporation isn't going to appreciate your dancing ability than, you know, tens and thousands of people coming to Disneyland every single day and saying, oh my gosh, that person's amazing. That person is spinning around as if they are dancing on the wind. Right? Being a cast member at Disneyland is a hard job. I think every single position at Disneyland when you're a cast member is a hard position, right? You know, and if we pay the cast members better, you're going to both retain talent. The cast members will be happier because they're going to be able to, you know, afford a place to live, afford a place to, you know, afford food to eat, afford to support their families. And honestly, maybe I'm a little bit too optimistic. Maybe I'm a little too idealistic, but I think that happier workers Happier employees means happier interactions with customers, better atmosphere, more willingness for employees to go that extra mile and create magic, to create magical memories for the guests there. Because let's be honest, every single time that I've had a magical moment at Disneyland, an extra magical moment at Disneyland, it was because of a cast member, right? Whether they were willing to, talk with me, to provide advice, like, hey, by the way, you want to maybe do X, Y, and Z, let me into a ride early, do artwork on the sidewalks, or to resolve a situation or a problem I've had. All those magical moments were because of cast members. They weren't because of a ride. They weren't because of a show. Those are fun moments. But the extra magic comes from people. Because people are smarter than rides. People are smarter than shows. People can adapt and see situations. When I see a cast member go out of their way to make a magical moment for a kid or adult or a parent, I'm like, that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome, right? And those kids, those people are going to remember those moments, after they leave the park, right? They may not remember every ride they went on. I don't even remember every ride I went on 2 days ago. But I do remember the cast members I talked to. I remember Anthony, who's always been so kind to me here on Main Street. I remember our friend Derek, on the railroad. These are cast members that have made significant impacts on me as a person that I will remember even months after I've, been to Disneyland, even months after I've seen them. Cast members are critical, and good cast members are worth valuing and are worth keeping around. So let's pay the cast members better because they are the ones creating the magic. And better experiences, like we say, lead to more profits because people are saying, like, we'll talk to other people about it. They'll say, come to Disneyland. They'd be more willing to pay more money at Disneyland. Sure, the price tag at Disneyland could be high, but if you're getting that experience worthwhile, if cast members are creating magic for you, you're going to be willing to pay that money. If you're going to be willing to pay that money to be able to be a little bit more special. Better retention is also extremely important. And this reads, I keep forgetting to talk about points. That's point like 3 right there. Okay, sorry. Let's go point 4. Point 4. And this is what paying best cast members is better retention. Why is retention important? Because retention allows you to retain company knowledge and expertise. And company knowledge and expertise makes everything smoother. A lot of people complain that there's rides are down all the time. They're saying like, oh, why are there so many rides under refurbishment or under maintenance? Why do rides, close down too frequently? Well, part of this may be due to maintenance, right? It's very possible, especially, after the pandemic when like there was a lot of people that maybe left to get a different job because they needed to afford, to feed their families and everything. They needed, that Disneyland lost a lot of the innate knowledge of their maintenance crews, their engineers that knew the rides back and forth, right? Let's say you've been working on Pirates of the Caribbean for, I don't know, 20 years. You know everything that could possibly break on that ride. Brakes on the lift, boats flooding, animatronics not working. If you've been there for 20 years, you know Pirates like the back of your hand. And then all of a sudden, the pandemic happens. Oh, okay, well, I have to work. I have to feed my family for a year. I guess I'll get a job somewhere else. So Disney loses 20 years of experience at a specific ride. That's a lot. That's a lot of experience, right? Then the new person comes in. Sure, they may have just the same amount of expertise and engineering know-how, but they don't know, like, hey, if you just, tighten this bolt behind this animatronic, the animatronics start working, and they'll have to say, like, oh, that's really weird. They might say, like, let's remove the animatronic entirely and then take it apart and try to figure things out, right? That's a lot more expensive. That's a lot more costly to remove an animatronic than to say, like, oh, no, you just need to take a wrench and, tighten this bolt here, right? But the person with 20 years of knowledge knows that, and the new person doesn't know that. Does that make sense? So by paying people more money, by paying the cast members more money, you're going to retain more of that knowledge. And that's not just for maintenance, right? That's for repairs. That's for those setting up decorations at Disneyland, setting up decorations at Small World, bringing them down. The more expertise you have, the more experience you have, the faster, the more efficient, and we're all about efficiency here, people can do things. And when you have people that are more efficient, not only do you have less downtime for rides and refurbishments, you also have the ability to keep things running better, right? Like, let's say like I said, like let's say Pirates goes down, a 20-year experienced person can fix a ride in maybe 5 minutes, while somebody who's new might say like, I'm gonna need 30 minutes to just figure out what's going on, right? I'd rather have a ride down for 5 minutes than 30 minutes. I think everyone, including those that run Disneyland, would want to ride down for 5 minutes as opposed to 30 minutes, because it's a bad experience, right? So that's why I'm saying it's all about experiences. Continuity also remember guests. That's true. No, Lala, you're right. When I see a cast member that I know and says hello to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, they remember me. Now, to be fair, I'm a fairly frequent visitor, and I guess I'm fairly obvious because I hold a gimbal around. but it's nice to be remembered. It's nice remembered, and to see the same cast members again is kind of endearing. It's kind of endearing, right? It's almost like you're seeing a family friend, right? A family friend. So yeah, pay cast members more, right? And then that way, and then focus on getting these rides continue to be maintained, to be fixed better, so that rides aren't down all the time, so that refurbishments aren't going on all the time. When you come to Disneyland, you need to you want to come. There's certain rides you have favorites, right? My favorite rides are Rise of Resistance and Thunder Mountain. If both those rides are down, I am a little disappointed. I'll still enjoy my time there, but it won't be the same as like, oh, I gotta ride Thunder Mountain because I really like that ride, right? So the less rides that are down, the better the experience there. Experience better there. Yeah. So yeah. Also, true, you're right. It's better for security if cast members can recognize guests, just in general. So that's true. So yeah. Also, we probably need a few more cast members in general, honestly, because I have noticed that the parks are a little bit dirtier than I would have liked. I have seen cockroaches. I have seen cockroaches at Disneyland. That's not great. I've seen cobwebs in places that Walt Disney himself probably would have said like, hey, get that fixed. Dust that cobweb off. I've seen a lot more cobwebs in certain places than I think would be ideal, because guests would be able to see them. And it's like, I'm thinking like, we're not talking Haunted Mansion here. We're talking like Casey Jr. We're talking the Disneyland Railroad. Like things like saying like, we probably shouldn't have a cobweb there. And because I go frequent enough, I'm like, that cobweb has been there for weeks. That spider is doing great because nobody's coming around to shoot away. So Disney probably wants a little more cleaning parks. I absolutely think, nobody wants to see a cockroach. And plus, people are sometimes sitting on the ground. Nobody wants to be sitting on the ground with a cockroach, walking around them. That's So yeah, just better maintenance of the parks. And finally, the fifth thing I say as I hold up 10 fingers, the fifth thing that Josh Tomorrow, the new leader of the park, should do is more Disneyland After Dark events. I know you're saying like, oh yeah. Like I said, these are all things that I think Disney can do and should do that isn't going to hurt its bottom line. In fact, I think it's going to help its bottom line. People pay extra money for these Disneyland After Dark events. That's when people can come in at later hours, and the park is open till like 1 o'clock at night, right? So usually the event starts at like 9 o'clock and goes to 1 o'clock. But you could come in a little bit early beyond that. And they're usually themed. We have current ones like Star Wars Night, which is all about Star Wars. They have special Star Wars parade and a Star Wars shows, Star Wars characters you can meet. Oogie Boogie Bash is their Halloween event that they have at California Adventure, where you can see villains, right? They have Sweethearts Nights, which we're going to be covering tomorrow, right? And that's their romantic night. So I think more Disneyland After Dark events is a great idea, because it encourages people to buy tickets that they wouldn't normally buy, especially Magic Key holders, right? Magic Key holders can come to the parks anytime that they want throughout the year. They only pay one-time fee. but only if they could get reservations. But a Disneyland After Dark event doesn't have such a system. So someone who has a Magic Key, who has an annual pass like myself, is like, oh, I have to pay extra for these After Dark events, right? So After Dark events is a way of getting those people to pay more money. And there's a lot of options here. There's a lot of options here that Disney can tap into to make extra money in that event, especially if they do After Dark events at California Adventure, because California Adventure it tends to close earlier than Disneyland. Like even right now, California Adventure is closing at 9 o'clock. Like you could easily have a Disneyland After Dark event in California Adventure, and I don't think it'll disrupt too much of the people visiting California Adventure. They already have to leave at 9 o'clock, and 9 o'clock is the cutoff point for when the event begins. So. Not the craziest thing. Thank you very much for the following productions. So I think that more Disneyland After Dark events would be fun. And the question, of course, you're saying is, Kevin, well, they're going to run out of ideas, right? Some After Dark events are only 2 nights. It's like, sure. But, they could do multiple After Dark events that are only 2 nights that people will pay money for, right? And if you do multiple ones throughout the year, right, you're just going to make more and more and more money, because people are willing to buy those extra tickets. Some of those tickets cost as much as a regular Disneyland day ticket. and Disney's been experimenting with a lot of options, but I think that Disney's pretty creative. I mean their entire company is about creativity. So I think they could come up with some ideas, right? Bring back Princess Night. Princess Night was amazing. You'd even have it at California Adventure. You could have Pixar Night. Wouldn't it be great if you saw Wall-E rolling around California Adventure, picking up trash? Guess would love to take pictures with Wall-E. I would love to take a picture with Wall-E. He doesn't need to pick up trash. But I'm just saying, a Pixar Night would be pretty interesting, right? Buzz Lightyear, Woody are common characters you see, but maybe some of the Pixar characters you don't normally see. What about those in Soul, or the characters from Luca? Right? Or I don't know. They're doing their like I said, nostalgia makes a lot of money. Disney can come up with ideas. They have a they have a Disney World After Dark event for the holidays, for Christmas. They could probably do the same thing for California Adventure, right? Or for Disneyland, right? If they open up a third park, they'll have even more space to potentially do these After Dark events. These After Dark events are not only ways for Disney to tap into a very specific kind of audience that will really enjoy it, but also to make use of the parks, right, in ways that are creative and unique, and of course would make them money. So more After Dark events, right? That's all I'm saying is this is a way for Disney to truly expand their profit margin without necessarily having to expand the costs involved, right? And if they make thousands upon thousands of dollars more, it's worth doing. Is it gonna require people to think, and is there gonna be more logistical issues? Is it gonna require more cast members? Absolutely. But I think Disney is smart enough to figure out how to make it fit their bottom dollar. I really truly do. Imagine if there's imagine if they had Nostalgic Night and they brought back the fries wagon, from the McDonald's fries wagon, for one day, for that night, and put it in front of Thunder Mountain. People are gonna line up, and it's McDonald's fries. They could literally go to McDonald's across the street from Disneyland and it'd be the exact same thing. But people will do things for nostalgic purposes, even if you could literally go any day of the week to get fries from McDonald's. That's what I'm saying. Disney is creative. They could figure things out. So those are the 5 things that they could do. Expand the parks. Bring back, bring back old rides and new rides. Maybe establish a new park, right? Bring back the People Mover. More entertainment, more shows. The Frozen show, it gives people a chance to rest. It decreases ride times. Pay cast members better, right? They retain that knowledge. Make the park's atmosphere more happier. Reduce the maintenance times and the refurbishment times of rides so that people enjoy the parks more often, and then more After Dark events. All of these things I think Disneyland can do that'll make things more profitable and won't cut into their current profit margin. That's a big thing right here. I don't think they're going to realistically reduce prices, right? I don't think they're realistically going to get rid of Genie Plus or, the current system. But they are, but these other ideas can make them more money. And I think it's worth investing in them. And the big takeaway, of course, of all of this is that this is for the benefit of Disney's long-term future, right? So that Disney can last another 100 years, so Disneyland can last 100 years. Because if you get people who love Disneyland, right? If Josh D'Amaro says, hey, you know what? We want to make sure people love Disneyland forever, and he invests now, and then continues to invest in the nostalgia and the magical experiences for the parks, then they're going to come back. And they're going to bring their kids, and their kids are going to come back as parents, and they're going to bring their kids, and so on and so forth, making it generation after generation after generation. That's how Disneyland has done well for 70 years, because the kids of today are the parents of tomorrow, and they come back. They absolutely come back, and they bring more and more people with them, and they're willing to spend the money. They're willing to spend the money for nostalgia. I want to say one more thing that I think is really exciting here. And it doesn't necessarily relate to Disneyland, but relates to the Walt Disney Company as a whole. And it's this person right here on the left. Josh D'Amaro is the new CEO. This is Dana Walden. And I hope I'm saying it correctly and it's not pronounced any different, rightly. But Dana Walden is she was currently the co-chairman of the Disney Entertainment Company, and she's being promoted to the president and Chief Creative Officer, the CCO of the Disney Company, in addition to, alongside, I should say, to Josh D'Amaro, okay? And I think this is very exciting for one reason, because she's a creative person, right? She's responsible for the creative side of things, like the movies, Moana and Frozen, all that stuff. She's responsible for stuff like the, what's going on in Disney Plus and the movies coming out and TV shows. This is important because I think that Disney is trying to replicate in this structure as a partnership between a creative personality and a more business-minded kind of person. Josh D'Amaro is the business-minded person, and Dana Walden is the creative side of this partnership. Just like Walt Disney and Roy. Walt Disney was the creative mind, right? Walt Disney was the animator. He created Mickey Mouse. He voiced the characters. He's saying, hey, you know what? Snow White. Let's do Snow White. Let's do Pinocchio, right? And then his brother, Roy Disney, was like, well, he worked at a bank. He's like, I know how to run a business. Let's not spend everything. Let's not throw the whole, the payroll away, Walt. Let's think about things from a more economical standpoint. And so they worked well together. Now they were brothers, but but there's more than that. There's Eisners and Wells as well, right? This partnership between business and creativity is pretty much the definition of what Disney is, right? It's like saying like, hey, you know what? We need people that could think both in terms of the profits of Disney to keep the company running, but we also need to talk about the heart of Disney, right? The heart that began with Mickey Mouse. That began with cartoons and stories and princesses that inspired us. And I think that's what they're trying to emulate right here, right? Where they're saying, hey, you know what? Let's have these two amazing people who are very talented work together and create a great, brilliant future for Disney, business and creativity. Let's have another Disney Renaissance where where all of us are like, we need to go to the movie theaters. We need to see the latest movie because that's amazing. We need to see this new princess because she inspires us, right? That's what Disney wants. Disney wants us to be enamored with their stories. And if they can do that and be profitable and make money, and then capitalize that at the parks and in everything that they do so that we keep coming generation after generation, then maybe, just maybe, Disney can last 100 years, 1,000 years, and beyond. That's all I'm saying, guys. That's all I'm saying. Disney's smart. They know what they're doing. They can figure things out. And they have already enough experience to know that for the last 70 years, the last 100 years, there are certain things that work. And I think it comes down to magic. Magic for people of all ages. And that's, that's Disney. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments your thoughts and saying, hey, Kevin, your 5 points don't make any sense. It'll cost too much money. This is all going to be terrible. Or maybe say, Kevin, this is all going to be great. They're going to do even better than what you're saying. And maybe you think, hey, Josh is tomorrow's going to announce third gate. I mean, honestly, that's a great legacy, right? If he's responsible for another park opening at Disneyland Resort, I think that's an amazing legacy. I'd be like, oh my gosh, this guy did amazing. I would remember his name. So yeah. But yeah, feel free to leave your comments in there. Thank you for, just time where we could talk about this. And I'm really excited for the future. I think Bob Iger did a decent job, but I really like the idea of this partnership that we have with Walden and Tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to seeing if that can really evolve Disneyland into the next stage, into the next generation, and make things just absolutely amazing for all of us. Take care, guys. Have a good one. I will be streaming Sweet Arts Nights tomorrow, so join us for Sweet Arts Nights, and I appreciate you all being here. I love you all. Take care. And of course, let's just be a little optimistic. Let's be excited about what these changes come in the future. I know I am. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, I got rated on Twitch. I have to send the love for it, so I'm gonna rate again on Twitch. Still stay around on Twitch. Jay, if you have any recommendations, let me know. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye. Okay. Jay, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it. It's very sweet of you. I'll run the end screen again, and we'll figure out who to raid. Thank you for the follow, guys. Let's see here. Where's the end screen? How do I do it?